We can go down the full card for the show coming up on Saturday, NXT Vengeance Day. And this won't take too long because I feel like the card is pretty straightforward, but regardless of what version of NXT it is, whether it's the black and gold or the NXT 2.0 era, regardless, for the last year and a half since the death of the TakeOver specials, the live specials they have done, whether it be Halloween Havoc, Deadline I thought was a really good show. Any of the other ones they've done in the last couple of years have actually been pretty good. They tend to do their best work on the live specials. I expect this to be no exception. But we start from the bottom here. The NXT Women's Tag Team titles will be on the line. Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, defending against the impromptu makeshift team of Fallon Henley and Kiana James. Katana Chance and Kaden Carter have been champions now for a good 6 months, I think. And they've had a good thing going. They have great chemistry. They've been around in NXT forever. They were largely positioned as enhancement tag team talent. And they finally got their big break last summer, finally becoming tag team champions. They don't have a very deep division, but they are kind of coming along with the team of Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. I don't give a fuck about Isla Dawn, but I could see where they're going with that alliance team. Honestly, my money would be on them taking the titles over Fallon Henley and Kiana James. Kiana James, we saw on Tuesday's NXT, was talking to someone on the phone that she said, "I love you" to. And it wasn't Brooks Jensen. So, and she didn't say, "Oh, it was my brother, or it was my father," which would still be fucking weird if she said, "I love you" to your fucking brother on the phone. It would be a little strange. But even still, I think the turn is coming on Saturday. It kind of feels like Kiana James and Duke Hudson are doing the exact same thing. I feel like we're getting a turn in either one of the matches, whether it be the NXT Tag Team title match with Duke Hudson or Kiana James. And this one I totally expected. I feel like Fallon Henley, and Kiana James will have their falling out here, and Katana and Kaden Carter will retain the titles. Speaking of the NXT Tag Team Championship, the New Day will defend against Gallus, Pretty Deadly, and Chase U as Andre Chase and Duke Hudson advanced on Tuesday's NXT via a qualifier triple threat tag team match. This should be a good match. I don't think it's elimination style, just a standard fatal four-way tag team match. The New Day have done well in NXT. It's been fun to see them on the brand, defending the championships, having some quality matches. I feel like they've only been around to help with the live sales, or the live, being back on the road and helping with the live attendance sales for this show. I could maybe see them retaining here and then being champions through Stand and Deliver. I think that's very possible. I'm not sure if their schedule will allow that with WrestleMania coming up. Now, granted, Dolph Ziggler was the fucking NXT champion going into WrestleMania weekend last year. New Day are bigger deals, I would say, than Dolph Ziggler, but I could see there being a chance of them retaining here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Pretty Deadly get the belts back. I feel like we are going to get a New Day Pretty Deadly match, a rematch again at some point. Maybe we get it at Stand and Deliver, and that's where Pretty Deadly get their win back over New Day. I'm going to say Pretty Deadly get their win back here. They have won fatal four-way tag team title matches before, that being Worlds Collide back in September. Chase U is over, but Duke Hudson is clearly up to something. And Gallus, I like Gallus. I don't know if they win here. So I'm going to go with Pretty Deadly taking the tag team titles back from the New Day only a couple of months after losing them. We then move on to the NXT Women's Championship match, triple threat, Roxanne Perez, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane. Gigi and JC were teasing tension for a few weeks before revealing it was ultimately a ruse last week on the show. So they're clearly in cahoots. It's basically a handicap match as it currently stands. Roxanne did say on Tuesday's show, I feel like what you guys said to each other last week during the summit, there was some truth to some of that. So I feel like we will see a spot where Gigi and JC have to choose between who's going to get the pin, blah, blah, blah. They did fight in that Battle Royal. I mean, they may have been in cahoots for the last couple of weeks, but they weren't in that Battle Royal when they were clearly trying to fight against each other for that shot. So when push comes to shove, I feel like we will see them maybe not split, but at least have that cost them the win here where they can't decide who's going to pick up the win and become champion, and they'll kind of have their falling out, if only for this match. Roxanne retains as she should. She just became champion, less than 2 months ago. So I have Roxanne winning there. 2 out of 3 falls match, Apollo Crews and Carmelo Hayes. This should steal the show. I think the entire card should be solid. Shawn Michaels actually did say during the conference call earlier today that Crews and Hayes is expected to steal the show in his opinion. He's expecting that match to be the best of the night, the one he's looking forward to the most. And he fucking books this shit. And that's the match he's looking forward to. It's not a surprise he's a Carmelo Hayes guy. That comes as no shock whatsoever. Hayes is great. He lost to Crews in a tag team match a couple of weeks ago. He beat Crews on NXT about a month ago. I feel like he goes 2-0 on Crews here. Maybe not going 2 falls straight, But I'm saying, like, in singles competition, he picks up 2 straight wins over Apollo Crews. There's no real reason for Apollo to win this. Maybe Apollo wins and they set up a rubber match, but this has a stipulation. What would be the point of that? I would just have Carmelo win here and by default become the new #1 contender to the NXT Championship for Stand and Deliver against whoever the NXT champion is, which we'll get to in a moment. The NXT North American Championship, Wesley and Dijak. Wesley's been champion for a couple of months now. He won it all the way back at Halloween Havoc, which I guess was 4 months ago, 3.5 months ago. Doesn't feel like it. Feels like it was just last month. He's defended against Carmelo Hayes in an awesome TV match. He had that match on TV with Tony D'Angelo about a month ago, a little over a month ago. I'm going to go Dijak. I don't know if Wesley retains here and Dijak just loses and that's it for him. He's clearly back in NXT for a reason. Crews may not have been able to have picked up any championship gold while in NXT, but I feel like Dijak will. I'm going to go Dijak, new North American champion, finally winning the championship that eluded him his entire time in NXT years ago. So I think Dijak picks up the belt here. And in the main event, a steel cage match for the NXT Championship, easier for me to say, I guess. Bron Breakker defending against Grayson Waller. Their first match was good, but never really got out of first gear. That wonky finish I thought was silly. They did it by design to set up this rematch. I think Bron Breakker retains, like I said earlier. I think Carmelo Hayes moves on to Stand and Deliver as the NXT champion, and you can't have him do that unless Bron Breakker is the champion. Bron Breakker and Hayes is easily the biggest match they can do right now in NXT that they haven't done yet. Shockingly, in the last year plus of NXT 2.0, they haven't done Hayes versus Breakker one-on-one, to my memory anyway. And if they have, it wasn't as important as it would be over Stand and Deliver weekend. So I think Breakker retains, walks into Stand and Deliver his 1-year anniversary as NXT champion, and loses it to Hayes there. Grayson Waller is easily, unquestionably main roster bound, rather. I don't know if he gets called up after this show or after WrestleMania would be my guess, but still I think he has a good showing in defeat before falling short to Bron Breakker in the main event on the show. So that's Vengeance Day in a nutshell. I'm looking forward to the show. I think it will be a good show as NXT, as I said earlier, tends to deliver on their biggest stages such as this one.